Hello and welcome to another biking video on doing stuff and filming it. Now, we are going to be doing some so-called routine maintenance on this bike today. The reason being is it is currently Tuesday at the time of filming, and on this coming Saturday I have my biggest ride out so far. It's going to be essentially all along the Norfolk coast. It is estimated to be about 5 hours worth of riding, plus breaks. That may turn into more if we get lost, or that's assuming that we're doing a constant speed limit the whole way. Let's be honest, it's going to be more, probably going to be more like 7-8 hours worth of riding. I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be a good do, but I do want to do some maintenance on the bike before I do it. So I was initially thinking of doing just the oil change. Makes perfect sense. I was checking the manual though for any other maintenance I can do at the same time, and just to double check I'm doing it right. This is the first time I've changed oil on a motorbike. Done it on cars loads of times, but never on a bike. And well, there was a bit of a list. Let me show you. Right, so this is the maintenance schedule section of my Haynes manual. I'm having to use the Haynes manual because I don't have an owner's manual for this bike, nor does there seem to be one available to download anywhere on the internet.
Internet is really, really great.
Bored. Yeah, we're having to go with this, and yeah, this is what it says. So, pre-ride, that's all like, check your coolant level, check your engine oil level. I definitely do all of those every time before I go out riding, honest. I do.
I can't believe he lied like that.
Initial service from new. Well, this bike is nowhere near new now. It's a 64 plate, so it's 9 years old. So yeah, they don't apply. Every 300 miles, check, adjust, clean and lubricate the drive chain. Well, I've put a new chain on it less than 100 miles ago, so that's fine for now. The bit I'm concerned about is this bit. Every 3,000 miles or 5,000 kilometers, it goes down there and then continues there as well. Now, in here is the oil change, which I was going to do. It is, there. Change engine oil and filter, or clean the strainer. I believe this bike has a strainer rather than an actual filter. Now, the bike has done 5,500 kilometers, so I don't know the service history of this. I have paperwork. I have all its previous MOTs, and one of them it looked like it did have some work done with brake cables and such like, but I have no proof that any of this has ever been done. So, assuming it's never been done, it's overdue, and I should probably do it before I go on this ride out. I was just going to do the oil change, like I say, but screw it. Let's do the lot. I've got time. So, we are going to be doing, check the spark plug, check the air filter element, and check the crankcase breather hose. Checking just valve clearances. Don't know if I'm going to be able to do that. We'll have a look. Checking and just engine idle speed. Yeah, we'll check it, but it seems fine. I've been out riding today. Check the fuel system and hoses. Checking just throttle cable and where fitted the choke cable. Check brake pads, shoes for wear. Yeah, check the brake system and brake light switch. Yeah. Checking just clutch cable free play. Yeah, check the center stand. Check side stand, centre stand where fitted, and starter interlock circuit. Check front and rear suspension. Check condition of the wheels, wheel bearings and tyres. Lubricate the clutch and brake levers, brake pedal, centre stand pivot where fitted, side stand pivot and the throttle and choke cables. Okay, we can do that. Check the engine oil filter. Oh yeah, we're definitely going to do that. Check the tightness of all nuts, bolts and fasteners. Check and adjust steering head bearings. Blimey, not sure I know how to do that. We'll have a look. Check the battery. Check the cooling system on liquid cooled models. Check the air induction system where fitted. Look, there's a fair bit to do there, but they're mostly checks. There's only a couple of bits where it says change, like the engine oil, and I think there's only one, maybe two things that I'm not going to be able to do. They may be beyond my skill level. I'll read the instructions. If it looks like something I can do here, then I'll do it. If not, I shall get it professionally done when it next goes in for its MOT, probably. So, what we're going to do, we're going to start, not in order, we'll start with the engine oil, and yeah, let me get the camera set up and I shall tell you why. Now, engine oil on this model is checked here through a dipstick. Move this out of the way, undo this. As you see, it lifts out. And you check your oil. As you can see, it's reading full. If anything, it's probably reading slightly over full. But, you know, whatever. What I'm going to do, and the reason I'm starting with this is partly because all of that big long list, it just says to check, 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 check. And the only thing it says that you have to actually change is the engine oil. So it makes sense to start with that. If I was doing this all in one go, you would still start with it because it can be draining out whilst you're doing all your other checks. Ask any professional mechanic when they're doing a service. First thing they do is let the oil out because it takes forever to drain out. And they'll do all their other checks that they have to do, you know, whilst they're waiting for the oil to drain out. It just makes sense, it saves time. So the second reason is because I don't know the history of this engine or how long the oil has been in there. It may well be the original oil still from the factory for all I know. I suspect it possibly isn't, and I'm just missing paperwork. That's the optimist in me, but again, there's no way of knowing. What I'm going to do is drop the oil out and leave it overnight to drain, because I will then get, I'm sure that I will get every single drop out of it. The other thing is it lets me do is, because I don't have an owner's manual for this, I have no way of knowing how much oil actually goes in there. Some sources online I found a manual for a slightly different engine but made by Lifan that called for 0.9 litres, another one called for 1.1. I've got 2 litres of oil to put in it because you can only buy it in 1 litre tubs. But I'm going to let it out, leave it to drain overnight into a measuring jug so I know how much I'm going to put in it. It's going to be a bit of a weird camera angle to get under this thing. I'll figure something out, I guess. Yeah, we'll get it drained out and we'll leave it overnight, come back in the morning and we'll do all the rest of his checks then as well. Now, one top tip, and I think I've mentioned this before in some of my cars videos as well. If you are going to be doing an oil change, especially if you're looking to get it done quickly, as in within 1 day, or like me who's just quite happy to take 2 days to do everything I need to do, remove your filler cap. Now, obviously on cars you have a dipstick tube and a separate filler cap. On this, they're one and the same thing. But if you undo that, it lets air in the top of the engine whilst you're letting all the liquid out the bottom. So the oil drains out just that bit faster and a bit smoother as well. It doesn't sort of glug out and go all over the place. So yeah, we'll just let that out like that. And yeah, undo the drain plug, let the oil out. Right, so I've set the camera down on a piece of wood with a couple of coins underneath it to get the adjustment. Hopefully you can see what's going on. The drain plug for this bike is, where's it gone? There. That bolt there. So we're going to undo it. Got a measuring jug ready to catch it. Yeah, let's just undo it, see what comes out. Hopefully nothing too disastrous. That would be nice. Okay, that came out relatively easily, which makes me think it's perhaps been off before, so it's probably a good thing. Oh, there we go. So 700 millilitres roughly has poured straight out, and that's going to continue trickling probably for a good long time, so we'll see how much comes out. Let's leave that as is, go make a cup of tea. We'll come back and check on it a few times tonight. Yeah, leave that overnight so we're certain we've got every single droplet out. One thing I saw suggested online before I go inside was, on models with a kickstart, was to give it a few pumps with that as the oil's draining, just to make sure you get every last little bit out. So, obviously, keys aren't in it, but I'm going to put the kill switch on or off. Yeah, I'm going to turn it to kill.
Set your faces on force 3 to kill.
Well, I might just do it by hand, actually. Interestingly, as I do it, I do seem to get an extra few droplets coming out of the bottom. You probably can't see, but I can. Alright, okay. Let's leave it be then. Right, it is the following morning. It's shaping up to be a fucking lovely day. Great day to be outside working on your motorbike. We have had all of the oil is out. We've got almost exactly 700 millilitres, which is a bit frustrating because the guide I found on the internet said it would take 1.1 litres. So I went out and bought 2 litres because you can only buy it in 1 litre bottles. Turns out I won't need that. I'm going to have enough oil left over to do nearly the next 2 oil changes on this. But yeah, whatever. What we need to do now is pull the strainer out. It's a strainer, not a filter, apparently. Give that a good clean, and then we can start putting it back together, get fresh oil in it. So the strainer is on the other side of the engine, and it is, oh, I know, muffin, and it's there, that part there. Now, the camera I've had to put on a piece of wood on top of a bucket with a €2 coin propping up at the right angle, so if it wobbles a bit, I apologise, not a lot I can do about it. Now, unfortunately, I don't have a socket that's that big. It appears to be 23mm. All my sockets and spanners only go up to 21. So we're going to use this clamp. Just be very gentle with it because it is a plastic one. I don't want to break it off. We're just going to undo it. Hopefully, once we crack it open, we can then just undo it by hand the rest of the way. Right, so right, I give up for now. I cannot get that to budge at all. I've tried 3 or 4 different tools and techniques for leveraging it off. I don't know if it's coming across on camera right well, but I'm starting to foul up the top of it. It's only plastic, so yeah, I don't want to end up breaking it off. We're going to do the other checks that need doing and come back to that. If there's time later, I'll nip out, see if I can get a 23mm socket without having to buy an entire socket set. If I do end up giving up on it completely, it's not the end of the world, because the manual does say you clean the strainer every other oil change, not every oil change. I wanted to do it this time just because I wanted to be thorough, but it would appear it's not the end of the world if we don't get it done, so we'll come back to that later. You know what? I went and had a cup of tea and I couldn't live with myself leaving it like this, so Screwfix to the rescue. Got me sent another set of sockets. These are impact driver sockets, so they're really quite tough. I only need the one though, but thankfully it wasn't too expensive for the set. Well, the thing is now, I don't know how to get this undone now. Here we go. There we go, it's off. Just like that. The right tool for the job makes it so much easier. It's this weird spring-loaded affair. Oh, dropped it. There we are. All that work, and it looks like new. I think I'm perhaps wasting time and materials here, but never mind. We're too late to turn back now. Let's give this a clean. It says to use a solvent. I'm just going to use brake cleaner. And then we can get it all put back together, get fresh oil in it, and then we can, at long last, get on with the, everything else that we need to do. Not going to need much of this. Fun fact, brake cleaner is great for the skin. Yeah, right, let's get that back in. Let's crack on. Could not be more in the way there, Muffin, if I'm perfectly honest with you, girl. Why don't I get you your own mat? Sit on this one. Good girl. No, no, not on my mat. No. Come on, over that side. Come on, over there. Good girl. What is going on here, Archer? Archer, what are you doing? There we go. Lovely. Right. Get the sump bung back in. Get it filled back up with oil. The reason I'm not bothering with the right camera angles, I'm just screwing a bolt in. Yeah. So that is fine. The system is now sealed. Just need some oil in it. I have, of course, disposed of my old engine oil responsibly. Yeah, let's get it refilled. So we drained pretty much exactly 700 millilitres of oil out of it. What we'll do is we'll put 600 millilitres in to begin with, check the level once it's settled, and then we can always top up as we need to. 600 ml is probably going to be perfect actually, because I think maybe the oil was a little over full. There we go. And almost forgot to mention, I am using Motul. I didn't really choose the brand, it's just what was available. 10W40 4-stroke motor oil. This is semi-synthetic. Basically, I went to my nearest motorcycle dealership, had a bit of a word with them. Some sources have said 10W30, some have said 10W40. I just went with the 40 because that's what they had. And I told them what it was and said, probably best to go semi-synthetic rather than fully synthetic on an engine like this. So, yeah, that's what I went with. Let's undo this. Of course, it's now reading empty, as it should. And gently does it. And we'll give it a little longer to settle, but it's hard to tell because the oil is so clear. That is part way between maximum and minimum, which is what we're aiming for. So we'll leave that in there for now. Go have another cup of coffee, let it settle and recheck. Cock it. Let's give it a check. Wipe the dipstick off. In she goes. That is spot on where I wanted it to be. That is one successful oil change. Now, the instructions do say that I should take it for a 5 to 10 minute ride and then recheck for leaks. I'll do that in a bit. I'll do all my other checks first and then take it out for a ride, and we'll check the whole lot in one go. Because if I go out riding, it's not going to be 5-10 minutes. It's going to be like 3-4 hours. Yeah, so because I'll get carried away. So yeah, on with everything else now. So next up on the list is to check the spark plug. Obviously a single cylinder engine only has the one, which is lovely. So pull that off of there. Yeah. It was fucking finger tight after all. What the hell? That looks okay to me. Yeah, it's a bit blackened, it's obviously used, but the enamel on the inside is in good condition. I don't see any excessive wear on the points on it. Just need to check the gap and then we'll put it back in. So as usual, I don't have any specification for this particular bike, so I'll just have to go by what it says in the manual, which is about 0.7 of a millimetre. So got my feeler gauge here, and that is about right actually. Yeah, there's a tiny amount of play in it, but if I go to the next size, there's a 0.75, which is snug. Yeah, the 0.7 fits. I can move it up and down, but there's basically no movement side to side, and I can force the 0.7 in, but it's tight. So, alright, happy with the condition of that. I'll give it a quick clean, pop it back in. Yeah, it's almost certainly not going to come across on the camera, but it certainly looks cleaner to my eye. Right, let's pop it back in. So now, as with cars, it's important not to cross-thread your spark plug as you put it in. Now, if you're putting it into a car, the spark plugs are generally quite difficult to access, so you would do it with a bit of rubber hosing to make sure there's no resistance. Obviously this is easily accessible, so I can just put it in by hand and it's screwing straight in with no resistance, so that's not cross-threaded. Car manufacturers could learn something from the Chinese, it seems. And then we'll just do it up tight. There we go. Check the end of my lead. No, that looks good. There's no signs of corrosion on that either. It's a copper lead in there, so you're looking for like green shit forming on it, but nah, that's looking good, is that? So let's pop that back on. Right, okay, next job. Next up is the air filter element and crankcase breather hose, which is here under the seat. And that is like new. Yep, I'm looking inside as well. There's not a speck of dirt on it. Okay, right. That can stay. Keeping that then. That can go back in. And it said the crankcase breather hose. Now, when I was checking the oil earlier, I could see that hose and it wasn't connected to this airbox. Which makes me think that perhaps it's not supposed to be. I'm not going to move the camera because you're never going to be able to see it anyway. It's behind the frame. There is a hose that comes in here. Obviously, air is going in there and then coming out through the filter and into here where the bike needs it. But there's a hose here. But then there's a T-junction under here and a pipe that drains down. Let's go back to the other side. Alright, interesting. So it comes out of the crankcase, does the breather hose, up and goes into a T-junction, which looks like more than just a T-junction. I wonder if maybe there's a filter in there. Might pull it apart and have a look. And then there's this bit of rubber hose here, which just goes down to the bottom of the bike. And then there's a pipe that goes up to the air filter. So presumably any oil that's thrown out is going to be caught by that filter, and then it drains out through this hose and just falls onto the road or onto my nice hot exhaust. It's good design there. And any vapours would maybe make it through the filter, go into the airbox and then through the carburettor and just get burnt off by the engine. Let's go back to the other side and see if we can get his hands on that T-junction, have a look. So I'm kind of curious. Oh, is it wedged between this wiring harness, the frame, another bit of the frame here? Well, all we need to do is check it, and I can see quite clearly it's in good condition. There's no oil or moisture in the bottom of the box either, so it's obviously venting oil properly, which is down and gases into the box. But yeah, it's in good condition. It's not blocked or anything as far as I can see. Alright, that's fine. I'm happy with that. Next task. So next up is check and adjust the valve clearances. I've had a read of what's involved with that. We're not going to do that in this video. It's a hell of a lot of work, more than I actually have time for. It involves taking all the fuel tank off, the valve cover has to come off the engine and everything. I'm reasonably confident I can do it, but I just don't have time to do it right now. It could take me a few days, so we'll do that another day and do it as another video. I've also decided not to do the steering head bearings. Again, a lot of work. We're going to do that in its own separate video. So next on the list is check and adjust engine idle speed. Let's get a cold drink in us and make a start with that one. Obviously don't forget to put your air filter back in, Stuart. Right, next up is engine idle speed. This should be about 1500 RPM. Now I get the feeling from memory that it actually idles about 2 to 2.5, which is not quite where I would like it to be. I would like it to be a bit lower if that's where it's supposed to be. So yeah, we'll get the bike started. It says run it up to operating temperature, which I should be about 10 to 15 minutes of stop and go riding. Again, I ain't got time to be getting all geared up and going out riding. So yeah, we're just gonna start it and let it run for a while. It also gives me a chance to check the oil system for leaks as I do it. So now there it appears to be idling just a little bit low, but that should come up as it warms up a touch. Alright, I'm going to go make a drink, let it idle, see what it looks like. Alright, well that seems to be quite happily idling at 1500, pretty much bang on, so yeah, I don't think any adjustment needed there. I must have been imagining it the other day when I thought I saw it at 2000. So yeah, alright, happy days. What's next? Right, next up is checking the fuel system and hoses, and step one is to remove the fuel tank, because, yeah, reasons I suppose. Oh, knocking stuff over. Now, this needs to come back off. There we go, that'll do. I don't have to unplug anything. Right, what's next? Right, and it says to basically check all of my hoses and everything. So, this is the main fuel hose down to the carburettor, and it's in lovely condition. In fact, obviously the tap is working well because there's no fuel pouring out everywhere, and there is not really anywhere else that this goes. That is about my only thing. So let's just give the tank a quick look over. Yeah, okay, I'm happy with that. Right, put that back. Inspect the carburettor, I've done that. Check the fuel tap itself for leaks, I've done that. If the tap has a bowl on its base, there's probably a filter or strainer inside to make so the fuel tap is off and unscrew the bowl. Okay, let's do that. There's our little fuel filter. Look at that. And it is in perfect condition. Yeah. Good. Right, let's put it back together then. Right, next is throttle cable check. So with the engine off, it's off. Make sure the throttle grip rotates smoothly and freely from fully closed to fully open with the front wheel turned at various angles. The grip should return automatically from fully open to fully closed when released. Yep, that's good. And if I let go of it, lovely. Still doing it. Yeah. The throttle is the one bit of this bike that's actually quite nice. Check for small amounts of free play in the cable, measured in terms of amount of twist grip rotation before the throttle opens. There should be about 2 to 6 millimeters of free rotation, which, don't know if you're going to be able to see, but the carburettor is there, the little throttle. See, if I twist this, you can see it moving, and there is, yeah, there's a tiny amount of twist on it before, but it's literally about 3-4 millimeters, which is within spec. Okay. Turn the handlebars all the way through their travel with the engine idling. Idle should not change. If it does, cable may be routed incorrectly. Correct this condition before riding the bike. Fairly sure that it's okay, but let's check it anyway. Good, seems fine to me. Next up is choke, that's the other side of the bike. With the engine off, make sure the choke lever moves smoothly and freely. That seems okay. It's a little stiffer than the throttle, but I kind of like it that way. It's certainly moving freely and smoothly. Good. Check for a small amount of free play in the lever before the cable opens the choke. If there is none, the choke could be permanently open. Too much, the choke might not open enough to be effective. Okay, alright, let's adjust the camera angle. Let's check that then. I don't know if you can see in there. I doubt you can. But the lever, I'll make it move, is there. Right, so I'm just going to skip through this bit because there was just no way for me to get a decent camera angle for you to see what I was seeing on the side of the carburettor, mainly because of that massive coolant pipe that's in the way, but never mind. In a nutshell, the choke is working as well as can be expected on a bike like this. When I move the lever on the handlebar to the choke off position, the little lever on the side of the carburettor moves all the way down to the end of its travel, so the choke is fully off at that point. When I moved the lever on the handlebar to the fully on position, there was a little bit of extra travel in the lever on the side of the carburettor, but we're talking 1 or 2 millimeters, not really enough that's going to make any difference, so I decided not to do anything about it. Not that there was very much I could do about it, because as you'll find out in a second, there wasn't really any adjustment to be made to this, but it's working fine, so that's good enough for me. Unfortunately, however, there is no adjustment. Yeah, there's no adjustment on this end or on the lever end. It's literally just the way it is, so it's not... the cable isn't going to have stretched because there's no real tension on it. It's not like it's a brake cable where you're putting massive amounts of force on it. It's just moving a small plastic lever up and down, so I'm happy to leave that where it is. The choke does do something, because I have in the past forgotten to take the choke off when I've gone riding, and after about 5 minutes the bike starts to bog down and struggles to run, and then I knock the choke off and away I go. So, but yeah. Plus, I don't actually do that much winter riding, which is when you need the choke. So, yeah. Alright, that's fine. Move on. Next thing is checking the braking system. So, we need to do the levers and the pedal first. Let's go and have a look. Well, truth be told, I actually lubricated this one just the other day, because I was finding it was sticking. I was going along, and I'd pull it, and I'd feel like it, and then all of a sudden it would... and I'd end up jerking the brake on harder than I wanted to. So I've actually lubricated this one just the other day. But as you can see, it now works just lovely. And, well, I've done enough work on this back one. It works pretty well. I might give the joint a bit of a lubrication though, because that is a bit squeaky. It's doing its job, but let's just give it a helping hand. That's soaking. Doesn't seem to have made much difference, but whatever. And it says check the hoses, etc. for wear. This hose, I can tell, even with this this wire coating on, it's in perfectly good condition. But you can lift it up like that if you want to have a closer look. Maybe a bit mucky, but it's otherwise okay. When it goes up to the master cylinder, that's all looking good. All the nuts and bolts are tight on the caliper as well. I checked those earlier but forgot to press record like a fucking idiot. Check the brake pads for wear. See steps 8 and 9. There must be a minimum of 1 mm, or the friction material must not be worn to the level at the base of the wear limit groove. Now there's literally no way for me to get the camera to line up and show you what's in there, but what you do is you just get a torch and have a look down, and I can see there is easily 1 mm of brake pad there. I can see the base of the pad, the metal bit, and there's probably close to 10 mm worth of friction material on there, so that's good. Now to check the rear ones, I'll show you. The rear ones are drum brakes. Now, Ordinarily, to get in there, because they're in this bit here, I would have to take all the back wheel off, all the chain and everything. I'm not going to do that because I did that literally a couple of weeks ago at the time of filming when I was changing the chain and sprocket, so that doesn't need to be done. I already know that they're good. In fact, they were like new in there, so those are fine. Right, next bit. Next bit is to check the fluid level in the reservoir. That's fine as well. You can see the bubble in it. This window has gotten a bit degraded, which makes it harder to see. What you can do is if you lick your finger and then wipe it on there, makes it a lot easier to see what's in there. You see, this little plastic window has just the plastic's degraded and gone cloudy. Still perfectly functional. Yeah, you can see as it's dried, look, it's gone cloudy again. Lick your finger and just wet it. There you go, you can see perfectly through it. But yeah, that's fine, and the handle isn't spongy. No, I'm happy with that. I can also check this union here for leaks just by pulling this rubber bit back, and it's bone dry. Lovely. Then we have to check the lights work, so we'll start with the front one. So that's the front one, and we'll do the back one. There we go. Lovely. Brake lights are working. Fucking ought to be after the amount of work I put into making them work. Then last thing to do is I need to check the free play on this rear brake. This cable does feel a little slack. I think it's going to need tightening up. What this is, you should have 20 to 30 millimeters of movement on the pedal before the brakes apply. So spin that, and it probably won't come across on camera. I can hear them coming in at that point there, just lightly. That's a bit more. Right, so we'll just tighten this up a touch on here. Right, spanners. Changing my mind, I'm sick of using spanners, it takes too long. Slacking off the lock nut. In fact, we'll take the lock nut right off, I think. That's better. Yeah, spot on. Right, next is check and adjust the clutch cable free play. If I'm honest, perfectly happy with the clutch, how it works. I have no trouble changing gears, it moves smoothly. I'm not going to get into adjusting that because it's working absolutely perfectly. It's got just the right amount of free play, which is said to be 10 to 20 millimeters before it starts to tension, which is about there. So yeah, that's okay, and it operates nice and smoothly. Yeah, no problems there. Moving on. Next up is checking the centre stand and side stand. This bike, of course, has both, as you can see. So we need to start with the springs. It says check them for distortion or damage. Well, I can see it, it's right there. There's no distortion on it. It seems to be this strange double spring, which is nice. It says the spring should be able to hold the stand in the upright position when the bike is in motion, which it does quite strongly. You get it past a point and it snaps up and it takes quite a bit of force to push it down. So I'm happy with that. The centre stand, I'm not going to rock the bike off its stand right now. Or should I? Actually, yeah, screw it. Let's take it off the stand and I'll show you anyway. Come on. There we go. And yeah, it snaps straight into the upright position, and yeah, happy with that one as well. Right, back onto the centre stand. There we go. Lovely. Then it says lubricate the pivot points, and I did check, it does say this can be done with a simple spray lube, so that's what I'm going to do. This stuff does go fucking everywhere though. Next is to check them for cracks, bends and breakages. I can just look at them, they're fine. It also then says these can often be repaired by welding. If I'm honest, mate, I will just buy another one. Next is to check the safety switch, which is this thing here, which is designed to stop you from riding when you've got the side stand down. There isn't one on the centre stand, because if you try to ride away with the centre stand down, you're A, a fucking idiot, and B, not actually going to go anywhere, because all that will happen is the bike will just stay on the stand. But if you manage to set off with the side stand down, first corner you come to, first left hand corner in this case, that's going to dig into the ground, it's going to flick you off the bike and you're dead, or at least hurt. All bikes have them, they work in different ways. The bikes I did my CBT on were Honda CBs. They would behave normally until such times you started letting the clutch out in gear, and then the bike would just stall and cut out. And this one, however, it's designed to stop you even starting the bike, and if you put it down whilst the engine's running, it cuts out. A lot of the times I'll pull up to somewhere, just put the stand down and and it stops the engine there and then for me. But for the sake of the video, we will test it, even though I already know it's working. So, put the stand down. It's doing exactly what it's supposed to do. Push it up. There you go. See what I mean? I literally pull up to places, flick the stand on, and yeah, it just kills the engine there and then, and it won't restart until you flick that back up. There we go. So that's obviously working. Next one is checking the suspension. Now, we're largely going to skip over the front suspension for two reasons. The first is we can't actually do most of the inspection. We need to check like the top seals for dust and leakage and everything, but we can't do that because it has these chrome covers on, and I'm not really in the mood to remove them because it looks like it's quite an involved job. You have to undo all this clamp here, and that's what's actually holding the things together. So yeah, we're not going to do that. The suspension works, it moves smoothly, it's a very comfortable bike to ride. I have no complaints about it. I am a little concerned that it is a bit soft, but if I'm honest, that's a subject for another video. So that's the reason we're going to skip over most of it. The only thing we are going to do is check the bolts are tight as it says to do. So we'll do that now, and then we'll get straight on with the back suspension. Alright, I got not even a quarter turn out of that, but that was fucking tight. I'll just do the other side quickly. Yeah, about a quarter turn out of the other one, a little more than I was expecting, but yeah, they're good. Let's do these top ones. Yeah, again, I could keep wrenching these on tighter, but they are tight, they're fine. Yeah, that one's even tighter. Good. Right, next. The next stage is checking the rear suspension. First thing to do is check the rear shock absorber, which is this cylinder inside the spring, for leaks. And there's a dust cover here, but honestly, all I see is dirt. This is at its full extension as well, because there's no weight on the back wheel at the moment because the bike's on its stand. That's good. Yep. The other side looks exactly the same as well. I've got fucking bird poo on it somehow, but whatever. The next stage is, with the help of an assistant, which I don't have, compress the rear suspension several times. It should move up and down freely. I'm just going to sit on it. Now, it's a bit squeaky, but it is moving. It's rebounding nicely as well. I don't think that squeak is coming from here either. I think it's coming from the swing arm pivot. So we'll check that in a minute. Next stage is port the motorcycle on the auxiliary stance so the rear wheel is off the ground. Good. Grab the swing arm and rock it from side to side. There should be no discernible movement at the rear. Okay, so like that. Nope. The bike is moving, but that is solid. Yeah, I can't get any side to side movement in that. That's okay. I'm not getting anything out of that. Right, what's the next stage? Grasp the top of the wheel and pull it upwards. There should be no discernible free play before the shock absorber compresses. Okay. No, I'm just moving the suspension. Yeah, so that checks out. Yeah, the next bit goes on about front fork oil change. That's going to be a different video. And rear suspension lubrication, which starts with remove the swing arm, which I'm not going to do because it says to check, not lubricate. Okay, next. Check the condition of the wheels, wheel bearings and tyres. Right, wire spoke wheels, no, cast wheels. Cast wheels are virtually maintenance free, but they should be kept clean and checked periodically for cracks and other damage. Also check the wheel runout and alignment. Never attempt to repair damaged cast wheels. They must be replaced with new ones. We'll just do a visual check of the wheel and then we'll do the front. Yeah. Apart from being a bit mucky, there's nothing wrong with this wheel. Give it a spin. It's spinning straight and true. I can't see any movement. If you focus on one spot on this line, if it was buckled, you would see it move up and down. If it was bent or deformed in any way, you would see it move in and out, but looking fine to me. Excellent. Check the tyre condition and tread depth thoroughly. See pre-ride checks. I don't need to measure it to see that there's loads of tread on this. I believe, although don't quote me on it, the legal minimum for tread depth on motorcycle tyres is 1mm. It's 1.6 on cars and vans and such like. If I'm honest though, if you're letting your tyres get down that low, you're asking for trouble. When I worked in the motor trade, I was on cars and there was no end of evidence that we tried to show to customers why they should replace their tyres before they get to the legal minimum. Really, they don't want to run them beyond 3mm because their effectiveness, say in wet conditions, really drops off a cliff. So yeah, I don't know can't remember what the legal limit is for tyres, but mine are well above it, obviously. And don't let them get to the limit. Replace them well in advance. Make sure the valve cap is in place and tight. And it's tight, good. Remove the cap and make sure the core is tight. Yeah, that's fine. Right, yeah, let's do the front one. This is a little harder to do because the bike naturally rocks forwards because of where the centre stand is. It's behind the engine, so the weight is generally in front of it, but it doesn't take much to lift it up and give it a spin. So yeah, so we'll just hold it up with one hand, give it a spin, and give it a harder spin. Oh. Keeping focused on one spot. It's looking good. And the tyre, well, you can see this one better. But I can get my finger in it. There's loads of tread depth on it. I will do tyre pressures later. I might actually do them tomorrow. I'm going out for a short ride tomorrow if I get all these checks done. But yeah, the tyre is fine. And you know, it said check the valve. It's there. Check the valve core is secure, which it is. If it wasn't, it would have let all the air out. So that's looking good as well. Next is wheel bearings. We'll start with the front, seems over here. It says turn it to full lock, and it says just pull it. So let's see if it... nope, there's no movement against that in the hub. Okay, and it says rotate it, which I've just been doing, but we'll do it again anyway. Yeah, there's no roughness there from the bearings. That only noise, that slight rubbing noise, is the brakes. One of the pads just touches ever so slightly. It's probably because I've been fighting around with it all day. Right, let's do the back one. So, same again. get a hold of it and... Hang on, you're in the way. Yeah, no movement in that, and that noise is just the chain going round. Turns nice and smoothly. If I'm honest, if there was problems, I think I'd have picked up on wheel bearing issues, especially when I had it all off when I was doing the new chain. So yeah, next. Right, next bits are lubricate the clutch and brake levers. We've done that. Brake pedal, centre stand pivot, side stand pivot. We've done all of that as well. Excellent. Change the engine oil and clean the strainer. We've done that. That was the first thing we did. Lovely. Check the tightness of all nuts, bolts and fasteners, which we've been doing as we go along. I will just double check the instructions or make sure there isn't any that we've missed. Hang on. Pay particular attention to the following. Spark plugs we've done. Engine oil drain plug we've done. Lever and pedal bolts, which we've done. Engine mounting bolt, footrest and stand bolts and engine mounting bolts and nuts. Okay, yeah, we haven't done those. Let's give those a check then. I'm going to be so ready for a shower when I'm done with this. Oh. This one you'll notice is slightly bent up as well. That's because I fell off and bent it. Well, I didn't fall off. I wasn't actually moving at the time. I fell over and the bike landed on top of me in front of a huge group of bikers. Fortunately, the only damage to myself in the bike was a slight bend in this footrest, which I can live with. Everything else, including my leg, which the bike landed on, was absolutely fine. Yeah, that moves now. Happy with that. It's not going anywhere. Yeah, the other side is the same now. It will fold up if you force it to, but this one's, I think, is always going to be stiffer. I think it maybe got a bit more than just bent when I fell off. Not going to worry too much about that. Right, next is engine mounting bolts and nuts. They look like they haven't moved. Let's see, can I even get to them? Different socket, of course it is. Actually, I should probably tack this from the other side, shouldn't I? Just check those two. I can't even tighten them, they're already tight. Try and get to that one and check it. But if the others are anything to go by, they're not budging. So. No, that's not going. Yep, they're tight. Fine.
6.5 hours later.
Last set of nuts and bolts to check. I've done a load of other stuff off camera, but I decided not to film it because this video is probably long enough as it is. And there are some bits that I'm going to skip because they've already been off once, like all the rear axle nuts. They were taken off when I was changing the chain less than a week ago. So the last one is exhaust system nuts and bolts. The only ones I'm really concerned about are these ones where it attaches to the engine, because I've had them come off once before. As in, all four were loose. Well, no, I tell a lie. 3 of them were missing, and one of them was on its last few threads, and the bike sounded great. But that was because the exhaust was hanging out. So, yeah. And we're just going to tighten these up a touch now. Good. And can I get to the other one? Ugh. Extension bar. Come on you go. This one is loose. There we go. Right, I'll do the other side. That one's okay. Right. That's as tight as I'm going to get it. Next Next is check and adjust the steering head bearings, which was going to be subject of another video because the adjustment is quite involved. The tank's got to come back off. I've got to slacken the fork bolts off, which I've just tightened. Basically, half this front bit has got to come apart on this bike, but we can at least do the checks, and I don't think it's going to raise a major problem, but yeah, we'll do the check for the sake of this video, and yeah, we can always do adjustment in another one, or not at all if the check is fine. So raise the front wheel off the ground using an auxiliary stand placed under the engine. Point the front wheel straight ahead and slowly move the handlebars from lock to lock. Any dents or roughness in the bearing races won't be felt. If the bearings are too tight, the bars won't move smoothly and freely. Okay, so I'm going to do this by sitting on it, and now they are lovely and smooth. There's basically no resistance in that at all. And then next is to point it to one side and just see if the wheel falls under its own weight. So we'll just give it a yep, and the other way, which it does. Excellent. Alright, and then next is basically grab the front wheel, pull it backwards and forwards, and see if you can feel any play. Nothing. Right. Right, next is to check the battery. We're going to skip that because I've just had a quick read of what you have to do, and it talks about standard type and maintenance free types. I already know that mine's a maintenance free battery, so I don't need to be removing caps and checking acid levels and all that lot because it's just not necessary. And yeah, checking the battery terminals and leads for tightness and corrosion. I did that when I did the USB fitting for the, I don't know if it's a video or two back now. Yeah, we don't need to do that. The battery's fine. It says if the machine is not in regular use, well, at the moment it is in regular use. It says disconnect it. I don't actually need to disconnect it on this because the ignition switch acts as a kill switch. Even the hazard lights don't work if the ignition isn't on, so yeah, as long as the ignition is off, then the battery is off with this bike, which it's great really if you think about it. Great for storing them anyway, not so great for, say you break down and need to put your hazard lights on. So yeah, we don't need to do any of that. And checking its voltage, I don't need to do either because the bike has a voltmeter on it. I'll show you. There it is, look. It's got water in it somehow, but I can still see what it says. So if I put the key in, put the right key in, it goes straight up to, yeah, just over 12 volts, which is about right for it. And I'm going to start it. There we go. See, it's gone up a little bit further, and it will, when we're riding, go all the way up to the 15 volt mark. That way I know the battery is good, it's got a good level of charge, and I also know that the alternator, or stator as it is on this bike, is working because it goes up even further. So yeah, excellent. Next, now we do the coolant level check, well, cooling system check rather. Let's do the hoses first. So the first few are quite easy to see, these bright blue things. I don't think these are original because that one looks a bit too long, but it's in good condition, it's nice and pliable, there's no cracks or anything on it. Reach through. The one on the other side is good as well. This one, I can just pull this back. That's looking good, it's still nice and pliable and still firmly attached. There's no signs of any coolant leaks. When coolant leaks, it leaves behind as well. Unless you've been putting pure water in it, in which case you're an idiot. But if you've got proper antifreeze in there, it leaves behind these whitey bluish crystals wherever it's leaking when it dries. So you should spot a coolant leak on a motorbike, unless you've got a sports bike where it's all hidden behind the fairings. But a bike like this, you should spot it straight away. So yeah, I'm happy with the state of all these. We need to check the coolant level. Now normally you do that at the bottle, but does anyone know where that is on this? I'll tell you where it is. It's behind these chrome covers. We've got these little viewing slits, see them down there? Just supposed to let me view the coolant level, but I can't see shit. Let's rock the bike. Ah yeah, I can see there is coolant in there. Can't see the minimum and maximum though, but whatever. But there is sufficient coolant in there. I'm happy with the coolant level. This one is about half full, the other side is a little more full. It's weird to have two expansion tanks, but you know, whatever.
A few moments later.
Right, I was about to say that all looks good, but then I spotted this pink shit on the floor. That's coolant. That's not good. Where does that come from? Have I just spilt that? No, I'll show you. This pipe here is leaking right there. Right, lift this up. You can see, in fact, yeah, there we go. I was able to just pull it straight off. Wonderful. You know what, if I hadn't been checking these and disturbed it, that'd have probably stayed on there a fair bit longer. But now it's snapped off. Well, that's our first thing that we need to fix off the back of these checks. So I need to get that clip off, get the old rubber remains, and then I should actually be able to just, there's more than enough hose here. I reckon I should be able to just fasten it on. There we go. As you can see, it's just the rubber that's just degraded. Yeah. And look, it's, yeah, this has seen better days. I think we are going to have to go and get some new stuff, because the ends seem to be the worst. Yeah, oh look, there's a hole right there, isn't it? Alright, we need a new one of these. Thankfully, all these other much larger and more difficult to replace pipes are still in good condition. If I'm honest, clamps holding them on, like say that one there, don't look that old, so I get the feeling they're not original.
12 seconds later.
Yeah, I thought I'd just double check all the other pipes on it, and I've spotted that big kink there, which that is definitely going to be restricting flow, and that goes into the engine, and of course that is just going to piss it out everywhere. Let's see what else we've got to do, but yeah, looks like I'm going to be spending tomorrow replacing coolant hoses. Right, okay, looks like we're done. Last one was check the air induction system where fitted, which I don't need to do because my bike doesn't have it. Alright, so tomorrow I need to put those coolant hoses on. I'm going to try and get all new ones if I can. If not, we'll just do the two that I need, and then yeah, we should be ready. I'm quite glad I've chosen to do this earlier in the week rather than the day before the ride out, so, so I've got time to fix it. Unfortunately, I think everyone's going to be shut by now, so I will have to do it tomorrow. Right, see you in the morning. It is the following day, and I have had great success this morning.
Great success.
These are my two old pipes. As you can see, this one is kinked, which we don't want, and this is the one that is falling apart. And these are my two new pipes. Literally got them the first shop I went to. I was expecting to have to drive around all sodding morning to find these, but no. First shop I went to, it was Auto Pit Stop in Mildenhall. Never been there before, and I don't know why now that I have been, because it's an absolute treasure trove, a proper Aladdin's cave if you're someone like me. They have so much stuff there. If you're in the area or if you're nearby and you need stuff, I highly recommend. Yeah, it's a great little place. So it's the right size-ish. The bore on the new one is slightly wider, but I should be able to clamp that down. And the same with this one. It's almost the same. Of course, the old one is going to be slightly deformed and stretched because it's been fitted, but yeah, these should do the job. So let's start with the big one. So move those out of the way. I'm going to have to cut it to length because if I just stick it straight on the bike, it sort of sticks out and looks silly. But they only had it in metre lengths, is what I've got. But what I might try and do is, if I've got enough left over, is replace the other two hoses that are the same size, just so I've got all new coolant hoses on it, because why not? So we shall offer it up like that. I'm going to add a little bit extra on, I can always trim it down further. The reasoning behind that is with more pipe it will be less of a bend and hopefully will avoid getting another kink on it. So I'm going to cut it there, and to cut it I'm literally just going to use scissors, heavy duty scissors. There we go. Whereas that one went round, oh, knocking everything off, oh dear me, like that. This is going to have a slightly wider bend to it, as you can see. It does mean it sticks out a bit more from the bike, and I'll try sitting on it. If I need to trim it down further I will, but because it's not turning as sharply, you could say, it's less likely to kink in the future. So let's go and get it on the bike and then we'll do the small one. Right, let's start off. I'm going to put this metal, well, it's like a slinky almost, back over it. I don't really know what it does. I suppose it stops me put my leg on a hot coolant pipe, but then the metal is just going to get hot as well. I don't know, I kind of like it from a style point of view as well, so I'm just going to run with it. I'll slide that. Oh, it doesn't fit. The hell? They told me it was the same diameter, this pipe. I guess it's not. Yeah, that's not going on there. It's alright, it's not that important. We will, however, put 2 new hose clamps on it. It's not too bad actually. It is of course sticking out a little further than the old one. I'll just climb on and see what it's like. Okay, that is going to be resting on my leg the whole time. Yeah, probably not a good idea if I'm riding for hours and hours. Obviously my motorbike gear will protect me. I don't ride in shorts, but yeah, that's still not ideal. Right, let's just trim it down a bit further. Let's trim another couple of inches off. Maybe I should have just cut it to the exact length of the other one. Cool. Yeah, that's okay. So let's get this clamped down. Just strip the teeth off that clamp. Good job I've got spares. Hopefully the same doesn't happen again. Same again, let's just strip the teeth off. Yeah, it won't tighten. Let me just go get the old ones, maybe they're a bit more heavy duty. They have a different design actually. We'll stick with the originals then. There we go. I can see that's visibly compressed the pipe now. Yeah, that's not going anywhere. Good, right. Let's do the other end then. Lovely, lovely. Right. There we go. Happy with that. It's my doorbell. What's going on there? My HelloFresh delivery had come. Don't worry, I'm not going to start talking about how great they are. It's not a sponsored video. So, I'll cut this to length, although I'm tempted not to. The reason being is I want to try and reroute this. The reason being, I'll show you in a minute, is this old pipe ran along the top of the radiator and it was wedged between the radiator and the frame. I'm going to run it a slightly different route around the top of the frame where it shouldn't get wedged and chafed. It does need just that little bit extra, so leave that as is. Hopefully I can get my nice springy thing on it this time as well. Let's try the little springy thing on it first. There we go. Right, we'll do the clip up later. And let me bring the camera around. So, what this pipe was doing originally was it went through there. Which is less than ideal because this is the frame and it was wedged between the radiator and the frame. Not ideal. My plan is to just put it up around the top of the frame like that. Nice and out of the way it stays, well away from anything hot. There we go. This one's a bit harder to get in place because there's so much in the way. There we go, lovely, right. hate hose clips. If I wanted to be a fucking surgeon, I would have paid attention at school. Come on you go, you piece of shit. What's happening is, the end of the little pipe that I'm trying to push it onto, it goes wider at the end. The clip can't be opened wide enough to fit over it. Which means, yeah, it's a real pain in the ass getting this last bit of pipe on. This is not how I wanted to be spending my morning. Right, that's as on as it's going to go. But the clamp is secure, the pipe is also secure, it's not going anywhere. That was way more work than it should have been. Fucking hell. Right, I need a coffee after all that. I'm going to start the bike up, let her run for a while, however long it takes me to drink my coffee. Make sure that there's no leaks from the cooling system or the oil, I suppose. And if all that checks out, we'll go for a test ride. Coolant is flowing now. Lovely. Definitely flowing now. You could see it in the cap, which I've now screwed back on nice and tight. This pipe is nice and warm. Yeah, let's check the other side. Yeah, there's heat in these coolant pipes now as well. Not so much in the radiator. A little bit of warmth, but yeah. Oh, it's definitely hot on top though. That's good. The cooling system's supposed to be hot, because if there's heat in the cooling system, there's less of it in your engine, which, if I'm honest, feels cooler already. And normally this thing radiates heat. I think I've been running this with very little coolant in it for a while, and now I feel like a bit of a fucking idiot for it. Obviously the exhaust is still going to be hot, I'm not going to touch it, but that you can touch for a brief second now, whereas before you couldn't get your hand even close to it. Sweet. Okay, we'll let it run a little longer just to make sure it's not overheating anymore. But I think we are good to go on this ride out. Right, quite happy with that. I think it's time the old girl went for a test ride. Just a short one. Well, maybe short. I may end up just riding around for hours. No, I do have stuff to do today. Mustn't do that. Right, I am going to close this video out. This has been the 3,000 mile or 5,000 kilometre service items on the Lifan King. Ended up being a bit more involved than I thought. Hopefully it wasn't too boring for you following along. I'm going to go give this a test ride. If all goes well, then that'll be the end of the video, and I'll say thank you for watching. If something goes wrong, I guess I'll be back in a second or two. Right, yeah, thank you for watching. See you next time.
You can see the writing on the pavement. Young kids, they're growing up in basements. Online, a whole new generation. I'ma make mine, so you better go take it. Always they need a new replacement. Decentralized, can't contain it. We're changing lives, yeah, upgrading. Call it suicide of the older generation.
What keeps you up at night, yeah? Make all the demons quiet, yeah. We were built to thrive, yeah. I think that we've all had enough. What keeps you up at night, yeah? Make all the demons quiet, yeah. We were built to thrive, yeah. I think that we've all had enough. Oh, yeah, I think that we've all had enough. Sick of dealing with the old plan. They know that we're calling it wrong. You got me like, oh, yeah, I think that we've all had enough. yeah. Make all the demons quiet, yeah. We were built to thrive, yeah. I think that we've all had enough. What keeps you up at night, yeah. Make all the demons quiet, yeah. We were built to thrive, yeah. I think that we've all had enough. Oh, yeah, I think that we've all had enough. Sick of dealing with the old plan. They know that we're causing their flaw. You got me like, oh, yeah, I think that we've all had enough. Sick of dealing with the old plan. They know that we're causing their flaw.
Thank you for watching this video on doing stuff and filming it. Please don't forget to press the big button here in the middle to subscribe if you haven't already done so. If you liked what you just saw, please click the like button below and leave a comment letting me know what you liked about it. And as always, thank you for watching.